All right, today I'm going to show you how to use Mounce's Expository Dictionary in Logos. Lanny has been teaching you about the book and some of its features, but let's look at how to use it here. You open it just like any other book. You go to your library, and I had already typed it here. You just type the book you're looking for, Mounce. I have different people named Mounce that have contributed to books, and the same guy wrote a commentary. So I have a few of them, but you probably only have one. So click on it or drag it to where you wanted to open it up. I want to open it next to my lexicons over here. And let's take a look at how to use this book. You can find books by find articles by going to your table of contents. It looks like it's already opened up in a section. Let me close this so that you see. Now remember, table of contents, back here again, can be opened with the hamburger menu on the left side of any resource if it has a table of contents, okay? So table of contents up there, and the book is divided into some basic headings. When you're running to find an article explaining a word, you're going to go to the expository dictionary. There are other sections that are useful, but that's where you're going to go. And it's arranged by English words. And so just look up whatever word you want. If you wanted to find the word fish, go down to F, find the word fish, click on it, and you'll read an article that tells you the different Greek and Hebrew words for fish and gives you information about them. So obviously, very easy way is table of contents. Although more than likely, you're going to just type something into the little go bar, and it's going to open up for you. So let's give an example that Lanny used in class. Let's type the word afraid here. Okay, and if I type the word afraid, I'm going to see an English word at the head of the article because it's arranged by English. But it's going to say here are the Old Testament words. Here's the verb and an adjective, hatat, yareh, and it's going to go down and give me different entries. And so now these are not very long definitions. What we're looking for in Mounce is something a little bit longer than our initial check into the DBL. If I were to look up the word, I have it over here in Joshua, do not be afraid, and I see that the base word is yareh there, and I click on the Strong's number and open it up here in my DBL, I get my good definition. I get the Goodrich-Kohlenberger number, or you might think of it as the DBL number, but it's the GK number. That's what the DBL is arranged by. I get, it's Hebrew, it's transliteration, it's Strong's number. I get various senses and some examples from Scripture. So what's so good about Mounce? This is less than. Well, here's the thing. If there is, at the end of a little blurb like this, something that says, for instance, see fear, that means you should click that link and have Mounce jump to that location. And now we're looking under the English word fear, and this is where he treats yareh at length. Now that is a much more lengthy definition and article than what we got in the DBL Hebrew. Hence why you have the resource. It's going deeper into these words. Of course, Mounce isn't going to cover the whole definition and every place where he treats yareh. Yareh gets translated as fear, but we saw it also gets translated as afraid, so he's only going to choose one place to treat it at length, and in the other places he's just going to say, hey, go click on this link and see this longer article. Now, what are you going to find here? The word fear is the head word, that's English, and he's going to say you might be after the Hebrew word yareh, and he gives you what kind of word it is. It's a verb. He gives you the Hebrew letters, yareh. He gives you a English transliteration, right? He gives you the GK number. Remember, that's the same numbering system as you're used to in DBL. But remember, the funny thing about that is your interlinear Bibles are geared towards Strong's numbers. So it's just a different numbering system linking to the same lemma, the same basic word. So that's going to be handy, as we'll see later, that he gives us both. So it's Strong's number 3372, so I can see that it matches the word that I was after down there. And that's the key for looking at Strong's numbers. That's where you can say, hey, I was investigating the word afraid and I see that that's 3372. Yes, this is the word that I'm after if I'm thinking in this passage. And then he's going to tell you how many times it occurs and gives you this long definition. Then he's going to go down, and you might find other Hebrew words. There's a different form of the word Yareh that occurs as an adjective. And then he's going to give you New Testament words, phabeomai, or phabeomai. That's the truncated form of the word. And so this is a long article on this Greek word, phobeo, where we get phobia from, for instance, fear. And he's going to tell you different aspects about it. So this is a pretty handy tool to have. But so far, I've only showed you how to look up English words that you happen to be interested in. But how do you know, how do you find how do you use this exegetically? That is, how do you use it when you're studying a passage? All right, that's what we want to use it for a lot of times. So you've seen a little bit of how you could go about that so far, but let's go in our Bible to, for example, 1 Thessalonians 5:11. And Paul says, therefore encourage one another to build up one another, just as you also are doing. And I might want to look up this word build. So I click on it. I can find its Greek wording, its transliteration of its lemma oikodomeo. And if I want the definition, I just click on it and can read my DBL definition. So how do I find what Mounce says about that? Well, what should I do? I should go to the word build and just type it up in my Go bar here. And what was I in, the Old Testament or the New Testament? That's right, you were paying attention, the New Testament. So I don't want an Old Testament Hebrew word, I want a New Testament Greek word. And I have a couple words here. Which one am I after? If you're really comfortable in Greek and it's a little more difficult than Hebrew, you could try to match these letters together, but just look for the Greek Strong's number. It's Greek Strong's number 3618. So which one of those is not this one? 3618. Here, the verb oikodomeo. Yes, I see that's the same word here. This is going to be my article explaining this word. So how did I find a word to look up? I started in a passage and I looked up the English word, and I made sure to make sure I had the right word by comparing the Strong's numbers. Now beware in this process not to confuse Strong's numbers with GK numbers. Like, remember that your interlinear is geared towards Strong's numbers, so you have to get that right here. Okay, so there's a couple setbacks, though, a couple snags you could run into in this process. Let's go to another example. Let's go to Psalm, let's say 36:5. And he says, your loving kindness, O Lord, extends to the heavens. And I want to look up the word loving kindness. Again, I start, of course, by clicking the Strong's number, reading my DBL definition, but how do I find it in Mounce? Well, I could follow the same way before, and I showed you the first way because that's the easiest way, but there's going to be times where it's not going to quite work, as you'll see. I could start typing loving kindness, nothing's popping up. Why? Well, the reason is because Mounce is produced by Zondervan, and it's arranged according to the NIV. So one thing that you could do is see how the NIV translated that. It just said, your love, Lord, reaches to the heaven. It's not your loving kindness. Okay, so now that I know the English word that it's likely categorized under, based on how the NIV interpreted it or translated it, I am going to type in the word love. Now, as you might imagine, I'm going to have a lot of words to sort through. And actually, I want to open up the interlinear pane because I need to click on the word love and find out that this is chesed I'm looking for. and it's Hebrew Strong's number 2617. So now I can scroll down in my article on love, which I've gotten to by seeing how the NIV translated the word. And I saw that it wasn't the first one. And I go down and I see here's another entry under chesed, or under love. And one of the words for love is chesed, all right? And I want to double check it against my Strong's number, because sometimes the transliterations can be different between Mounce and how it appears down here or in the DBL. For instance, this could be transliterated chesed, because it's kind of a sound. Anyway, always good to double check the Strong's number. 2617, that correlates with 2617 here. Not my GK number, because that's different. Make sure it's the Strong's number you're checking it against. And now I've got my longer article on love. So that's wonderful. Well, that's one problem we've solved. If you're not finding the word that you need, maybe it's because Mounce hasn't put it under the entry that you're looking under, and the NIV might guide you to what Mounce is going to organize his dictionary by. Let's give another example. Let's go to the ESV just to mix things up a little bit, and let's go to Isaiah 57:18. And let's say I want to look up the word where he says, I will lead him and restore him. So I click on the word restore, and I see that it's the word shalem. Well, you can't quite read that yet. If I were to click on the Strong's number, you'd see a better transliteration here with the vowel sounds in it. Shalem. And so I get a pretty good-sized definition here. Obviously, it's an important word. And so what do I do for Mounce? Well, let's try the first method. Always try the first method. It's the easiest. Just type in the word you found. Well, should we double check? Yeah, it's the same in NIV, right? So we've got the right word. Restore here. Restore. All right. So I look up the word restore. All right. I've got Rapha. That's Rapha is 74.95. No, that's not the one I'm after. I'm after 7999. It's not Shub. Nope, it's not it. And that's all he gives. Gosh. Even though I looked it up in the NIV's wording, restore, I'm still not getting this definition. Now, there's a couple of reasons that could be. Number one, the word is just not an important enough word, or it doesn't occur enough times, and Mounce isn't going to deal with it. That could be. But probably not, given that, look at all the senses that this word has. That means it occurs a lot of places. Probably not. So what do I do? Well, Mounce actually has articles on or little definitions on every single word that he treats in his dictionary. So if you go back to the table of contents over here, the hamburger menu, and we get out of the section here on get out of the expository dictionary and go to, now we're in a Hebrew word, so go to the Hebrew English dictionary, and you'll have an alphabetized, but in Hebrew, list of words you can look up. And if you were to go to any of them, you would see a little definition. And if it's a word he treats, the definition will say, hey, do you want to find the places in this dictionary that treat that word? Like the word here, Habel, is treated in these different English headline articles. But, good luck using that if you can't read Hebrew or Greek. Well, let me show you a little secret. Let's get out of the table of contents and just type the Strong's number. It's a good habit to be in to type in the Strong's number as you see it in the interlinear pane. So you could do H7999. It will suggest to you a GK number or a Strong's number. I could look up GK number 7999, but that's not what I want, is it? I want the Strong's number. That's the one that I know correlates to this word that I'm looking up here. So click on that, and it will open you up. It'll open up to that part of his his lexicon at the very end. So now this is the word I'm after, shalem, and I can see that these are the articles where he treats that word. See fulfill, see also peace or be at peace, repay, and reward. Now, if I hover over these, I should be able to see that, look at the first one. I see just a couple lines for shalem, be at peace. I see a couple lines, repay. I see a bigger amount for shalem, and reward, I see very little. So I'm going to choose repay because that's the one that clearly shalem has the larger treatment in. So I could look it up in all these articles, but this is the one that treats it appropriately. Now that just happened to luck out. We just happened to luck out by being able to that our word was at the top of all those articles. But you could click through whatever articles you found under the word in the lexicon section, or he calls it the Hebrew to English dictionary or whatever he calls it, and find out where he treats it. So that's one way to do it, and that's a pretty smart way to do it. Let me show you one more way too, which is very similar. Let's use the search to do this. Let's do a books search, and let's, if you can remember these skills here, and let's say to search through specifically Mounce, which it has selected here, suggested here because I have it open, but I could have typed in Mounce if I wanted. And let's search for our Strong's number, 7999. I let it think for a second. It doesn't. Searching for the number 7999 is going to pull up some results, but I could also get ones that I don't want. For instance, Greek numbers, if they went that high. Better to do H7999, and then it will think about it and say, do you want Hebrew, Greek, GK number, or do you want the Strong's number? And you're going to say Strong's. So click it, and now your search is searching with some technical search syntax. It's not searching for the number, it's searching for the Strong's number specifically. And now I see, depending on how you have it arranged, I see the article, and I can see right away how it's being used in that article. I can hover over the word, and I see how it appears there, which means I could have scrolled down here and hovered over repay, and see that it's using, by hovering over the result, the hit here. That means it's going to start there at the top, and it's going to show me everything after that point, and I'm going to see that that's a rather large set of text. And so I just click the result, and it opens it up to that place. So that's another way. You could search for a Strong's number or anything you wanted, but you can search for Strong's numbers in Mounce using the search, because in your assignment you're gonna have to learn how to find the main place where Mounce treats a word, and we're gonna say, for instance, look up this word in this passage. In Isaiah 57, for instance, it's the word shalem. Make sure to find what Mounce says about it. And if you just found, for instance, the one of the lesser articles, like one of these ones, and if you and we're going to say summarize what he says about it, and let's say you summarize this, you're not going to get very far. Because this is not really where he treats it. He treats it at length under this article. So we're going to ask you to summarize, not copy and paste, but summarize what Mounce says in the place that he treats that word at length. Okay, so you're going to have to learn these tricks I've showed you, how to find those places. We might also ask you, just to make sure we know you have it down, give us every article where that word, the Hebrew or Greek word, is treated. And the best way to do that would either be to look up, again, the Strong's number, H799 in this instance, in his Hebrew or Greek English lexicon, and see what results he suggests. These would be the articles, or to search Mounce for that number, and you'll see all the places, all the articles, fulfill, be at peace, repaid, repay, reward. You're going to see all of those there. So those are the skills that you'll need for this assignment. Godspeed.